You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back to our Friday review. Glad to have you with me here today and excited to be able to share with you what's been happening over the past week in the practice. I've got some great new research for you, another super nutrient, we'll call it that way, and a lab number that not a lot of people pay attention to. A lot of doctors even glaze over it, but can absolutely define whether you are nutrient deficient or not. So I want to bring all this to you today, some research, even a book review, one of my favorite books that I've read in quite some time. It's been sitting there on my shelf, and I knew that I had to read it for this upcoming new year, so that's why I'm bringing it to you today as well. Looking forward to getting right into it, so without further ado, what I'd love to do first is be able to go over some of the things that's happened over this past week on the Cabral Concept. So we've done quite a number of shows, and those shows have been increasing in popularity, meaning more people have been sharing them. So one of the things I wanted to go over in the first one, which will absolutely tie into my book review of the week, is something called the nocebo effect. That was this past Monday. It talks about there's a placebo effect, which I'll be talking about in a moment, but there's also something called a nocebo effect. And that nocebo effect is what's holding so many people back from achieving their goals. And that's because at a subconscious level, they are self-sabotaging themselves. They are telling themselves they're not worthy to achieve a certain goal. Now, it could be from childhood-based conditioning, could be from a spouse, could be from even a loved one that, means the best for them, right? But what we do on that show is actually break down why and what is holding you back, that we call basically this victimhood. So please do check out that show. That was 1074. All of these shows can be found at stephencabral.com/podcasts. And Tuesdays was the 5 vitamins everyone should take. This show was an eye-opener because many, believe it or not, I couldn't believe this when I actually looked it up. On episode 354 of the Cabral Concept, it honestly feels like it was yesterday, recording that show, and I gave you the top 15 doctor-recommended supplements. That was not a survey. It wasn't a survey at all. This was actually taken from a firm or from what's the best way to say it? A company that acts as a liaison. We use a company to get people their nutritional supplements. Because, as a doctor, you don't always want to hold every supplement in your practice. It's a lot of upkeep. There's a lot of money that goes out the door, all of that. So what you can do is there's third parties that will hold the products that are only allowed to be given to doctors, and they then give them to their patients or wellness clients. Well, this company knows, obviously, what doctors are recommending the most. So I gave you that show. That was episode 354, but then I gave you a new article on the 5 vitamins that everyone should be taking, nearly everyone on a daily basis. Check out that show. I think it's an eye-opener, and I pretty much agreed with these doctors that wrote it. The Wednesday show this week, 1076, was starchy versus non-starchy vegetables, called safe carbs, right? Safe carbs. What are we doing with those safe carbs when we're trying to transform our body, lose weight, but also live a long, healthy life? So that was episode 1076. And yesterday's show was how to create the perfect workout program. Yes, it was a tall order to come through on. Hopefully you'll agree by the end of the show that the premise makes sense. So check that out. Today, we've closed the Integrative Health Practitioner certification for this month. We're taking care of our new members. We did a live Q&A last week. Really so much going on over there. But really what I'd love to talk with you today is this week. I know it's ending today or tomorrow. We came out with our new foundational daily protocols. Those new foundational daily protocols are about 18 months, I would say, in the making. Our health practitioners, just like I just spoke about, the top 15 supplements that most doctors are recommending, that's basically chiropractors, acupuncturists, MDs, NDs, and it's everyone that is essentially able to be either licensed or board certified and recommend them to people. Well, what we did in my practice, and I spoke with my health coaching team, I have amazing health coaches, and it's Julia and Caitlin and Laura and Dawn. And you see all of these people answering questions in our Cabral support group. You see Michelle answering questions all the time. These are all the people that are basically helping you, right? When you run a lab through Equilibrium Nutrition, you're speaking with them. I speak with them on a daily basis to give my tips and any tweaks that are needed for based on the labs. We all sat together as a team and we look at which products are we recommending the most for people after they're done with their personalized program that we give out, based on their labs or as a private wellness client. What are they maintaining with? And so we gave you, and we've had it for the past year, the Dr. Cabral Daily Protocol. That's called Level 1 now. And Level 1 is to get you every vitamin and mineral and electrolyte and daily detox nutrient and 15 grams of vegan-based protein, which is hypoallergenic, to make sure you get all of your amino acids for the day. Well, we did that. And we gave you, on top of the daily nutritional support shake or the daily activated vitamin, the daily fruit and vegetable blend. And that's 22 organic fruits and vegetables. And allows you on a daily basis to get the best of whole food nutrition without all of the extra sugar or with all of the digestive process that it would take to break down all of those many pounds of vegetables, right? Or a lot of the foods that you would never eat, such as, chlorella. You're probably not just going to get that on its own. And then on top of that, we added our daily probiotic support, which is one of the only dairy-free probiotics on the market, which means it's only one of the only low histamine products on the market. It's absolutely amazing for long-term use. So we have those. What do they cost? Less than $5 a day for all of those. Every vitamin, every mineral, your electrolytes, your antioxidants, your daily detox, your fiber, your protein, all of that, plus 22 organic fruits and vegetables, plus 50 billion live probiotic that last, and they're shelf stable for 2 years. They're even stable over 96 degrees if they were to keep them out in the direct heat and sunlight for over 2 months. That is a powerful probiotic, and we third-party test all of these items, of course, because we use them in a clinical practice, and I use them myself. That's why it's called my daily foundational protocol. I use them every day. So for the same cost as basically a Starbucks latte, you can get all of that. There's no comparison, right? So then we said, okay, well, what's level 2 going to be? Level 2, let's not make it too much more expensive, but what do people need? They're omega-3s. Omega-3s. Why? Because I'm telling you right now, there's not a person alive, I can tell you this, and I'll make a wager with you. There's not a person alive that unless you're eating sardines, wild salmon, mackerel, trout, or anchovies 3 or 4 times per week. If you're not doing that, you're going to be low on omega-3s to your omega-6 ratio. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. How do I know this? Lab testing. That's it. I don't guess. I do not guess in my practice. This is all based on running thousands of omega-3 tests. I can't tell you. I mean, it'd be hard-pressed to find someone else who runs more omega-3 tests than I do. And so that's why we added that to level 2, because we just know that most people are going to be deficient. So why not just add that in, right? And then the last part, level 3, maybe we'll come out with more levels in the future, but level 3 is a digestive enzyme. I could have added an activated B complex. I could have added full spectrum magnesium. I could have added CalMag Complete. Those are all products that pretty much people need. However, I added the daily digestive enzyme, and here's why. Most people are not calm when they're eating, are not relaxed when eating, which means they need some help in terms of digestion. They're trying to make the right choice in putting good foods in their body. But what's happening is they're not relaxed. So what happens? Well, you don't produce typically as much hydrochloric acid or pepsin. Your ability to churn and break down that food is not as great. So you get some bloating, you get some gas, you get some bacterial buildup in the gut, some fermentation. And that food might move through the intestines with a little bit higher of a pH, which means there's going to be less bile then produced. There's going to be less bile, I should say, dropped from the liver to the small intestine. The first part of the small intestine is called the duodenum or the duodenum, depending on how you like to pronounce it. And so what we did was this. We said, listen, people that are trying to eat well, or maybe even if it's a cheat meal or a flex meal, they could use a daily digestive enzyme. Take 1 or 2 with every meal. It's going to allow you to have to use less digestive enzymes of your own. It's going to allow you to eat that cooked food where the enzymes have already been cooked out of the food. It's going to allow you to use less overall energy so that you don't feel as tired after a meal. It's a great product. Use it all the time. I keep a bottle of that, and I keep my gluten and dairy digest as well for cheat meals, all right? So these are what we did for you. You can check them out at equilibriumnutrition.com. And over there, before the introductory pricing is over, you'll see it right there, right when you land at equilibriumnutrition.com. Or just click on the supplements page, and you'll find it under the supplements. Or just type in level 1, level 2, or level 3, and you'll absolutely find it. So during the next couple days at least, I know that there's some special pricing over there. I don't really run the pricing, but head on over to equilibriumnutrition.com and you'll find all the information. But again, these are things I personally use on a daily basis. We use them with almost every single human in our private practice, and they're absolutely what you are most likely deficient on if you're not using. So that allows you to cover all of your bases right out of the gates. Okay, next up, I want to go over a podcast that I just did. Again, every week, I like to bring you other shows that I'm on right now. And one of the shows that I just did was a fun one. And, okay, so this podcast is actually by Cody McBroom. And the podcast, I literally can't say the name enough, and everybody loves it when I say the name, so it's obviously great branding right there. It's called the Boom Boom Performance and Nutrition Show. So check it out. I'm going to link it up today. It's at stevencabral.com/1078. And this show is all about, as it says, performance in terms of exercise and nutrition, but also big ideas. So this was a lot of fun, this show to do. Cody Boom Boom, as he calls himself, which is a great Instagram name as well. We got deep into how cortisol affects you in terms of a positive effect, believe it or not, and a negative effect. We talked about how the mitochondria get shut down and when we take a lot of antibiotics and how to recover from that. We talked about exercise. So if you enjoy the Training Thursdays of the Cabral concept, I really do think you'll enjoy this show as well. So give that show a listen. I'm going to try to embed the show right over at stevencabral.com/1078. And if you can't find it, I will link it up on that show notes page as well. And that is on the Boom Boom Performance Podcast. So fun name, great podcast. Check it out. All right. So next up, we are going over actually, you know what I'd like to do right now is I'd like to get into my book pick of the week right now, my book pick of the week. And that is a book by Dr. Joseph or Joe Dispenza. And it is called The Placebo Effect. What I'd like to do is also, I'm going to link this up at 1078, but I think I'm also going to put Dr. Dispenza's video of him introducing the book there as well, because it's obviously his material, his work. I believe he's a PhD in this topic as well, which is the mind, the psychology of the mind. I talk about this on literally every single Motivation and Mindset Monday, which I believe that I've done over 300 Mindset and Motivation Mondays. And when I do the Mindset and Motivation Monday, I want you to know that it's also based on science, the science of psychology. And I talk about it from a quantum level. I talk about it from a realistic level of things that you can do. And when I do talk about things such as vibration and frequency, and I talk about attraction and all of those things, I do it from the standpoint of a practical standpoint of here's what happens, here's how it happens, and here's how you're going to get closer to your goal. Well, Dr. Dispenza goes into it like this. He talks about this. He's like, listen, when I look back at all of my research, and I look back at the research out there with the placebo effect, which means they'll literally pretend that they're giving someone surgery, whether it's on a knee repair or whatever it is, and they'll show the incision mark, but they won't actually do the surgery. This actually happens on purpose. And the person begins to feel better. How is that possible that the person starts to recover when they never did the surgery? Well, the placebo effect. Our mind tells our body what to produce in terms of neurotransmitters, neurochemicals, literally everything. And a lot of times it starts with the epicenter of the brain, of the hypothalamus. It's absolutely remarkable. So you're going to see a lot of case studies in his book called You're the Placebo, meaning that you have the power to change your life. No one else has that power over you unless you give it to them. So it's a great book to read. I could honestly go on and on, but this is one of those books that if you've listened to enough of my Mindset and Motivation Mondays, and if you haven't, I recommend starting there, because this book might be a lot for you. But if you started there, if you've read The Power of the Subconscious Mind, if you've started to read The Success Principles by Jack Canfield, if you've read The Attractive Factor, if you've read a lot of the other books that I recommend to you, this book is that next level. This book gets you to believe that all of this, woo-woo stuff out there that people talk about, like The Secret, is actually true. But there's a lot more to it. So what I try to do is take a concept such as The Secret and say, it's not as simple as just saying, I'm just going to think about it, then it's going to manifest in my life. Well, there's a lot more that has to happen. Meaning that you need to get those beliefs and you need to own them. You can't just visualize. You need to already see yourself there. You need to already feel like it's already been done. You need to own it at a subconscious level where that it can't not happen. You've already said it's happening. Like it's already happened. I've created it. Now I just need to step into it, right? That's at a deeper level, but you can begin to see that we are the creators of our own universe. Now, do other factors play into it? Yes, but it's also how we frame it as an individual. So it's a great book. I'd love you to check that out. I'm going to try to embed Dr. Joe Dispenza's video in there, introducing his own book. Of course, I'm not a salesman for his book. That's not how it works. But I'd actually like to have Dr. Joe Dispenza on the podcast. I think he would be a great guest, especially on a Mindset and Motivation Monday show. So if anybody's connected out there in our community, we obviously have quite a large community now. I'd love to be able to be connected with him. And of course, I can reach out myself, but always nice to have that personal-based introduction. I just think the work he's doing is pretty remarkable. So as my goal later, as we get into the year in 2019, is to have more guest experts on the show. Dr. Dispenza is one of those experts. Okay, let's move into our research. The research people have been enjoying. They've been enjoying it because, just like myself, when I was trying to get well, when I was trying to, transform my body, when I was trying to transform my health and mind, I had all these doctors, a lot of doctors that would sit down with me and they'd talk about it at a science-based level and research, and it meant nothing to me. They couldn't give it to me, give me this information in a way where I could actually absorb it. Well, that's what I want to do with you on these Friday reviews. So today's research is this. I've worked with a lot of men in my practice, and a lot of them choose to use testosterone hormone replacement therapy just kind of willy-nilly, as we'll say. They just say like, oh yeah, a lot of people are using it right now. Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem with that. Oftentimes, your own testosterone, if you choose to come off of it, doesn't bounce back. You have lower levels of basically than your own testosterone. You start to get lower mood, start to lose muscle mass, even some bone mass, start to get more depressed. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. We need to boost your own testosterone naturally. We can do that by you running a thyroid adrenal hormone test and ideally an organic acids test and hair tissue mineral analysis. That'll give us the real data. But here's the problem. This is a study out of the Journal of the American Medical Association, obviously a well-reputed journal. And it was done at the University of Texas, Galveston. So if you want to look up the study, you're welcome to. University of Texas, Galveston, published in JAMA. Testosterone use rose sixfold in the United States between 2001 and 2011. So a decade. The use of testosterone, whether doctor prescribed or on the street, rose quite rapidly. But from 2013 to 2016, we saw testosterone use drop by 50%. Why? Well, doctors that were smart out there said to their patients, there's been a link that's been found between prescription testosterone and the increased risk of heart attack and stroke, especially with long-term use. So here's the issue. Yes, you want to increase libido. You want to increase maybe muscle size or confidence or feel good or any of the things come with increased testosterone. But do you really want to do that if the side effect is potentially heart attack or stroke, higher blood pressure? My answer hopefully is no. So here's what we need to do. We need to get men and women thinking about their testosterone from a different perspective. And that is you need to improve your quality of sleep, improve your quality of nutrition, improve your exercise, not too much, not too little. We need to also decrease cortisol levels. And we need to improve the things that we know produce more testosterone, such as good quality vitamin C, zinc, selenium. We get those B vitamins. We're going to be able to help a person. You give a person our daily foundational support, our daily foundational protocols. Let's just even go with level 2. You give them an activated B complex at lunch. You give them some additional balance C. and either full spectrum vitamin C or alkalizing vitamin C, and you help them with a deep sleep protocol if they need that, or adrenal soothe with dinner, you're going to see those testosterone levels boost. There's no doubt about it. And that's a healthy level. We do this with athletes and people all the time, and it works fantastic. So there's that. Let me give you one more piece of research. This one written by Dr. Fred Pescatori, medical doctor, practice of integrative medicine in New York. And great little article. Here's what it said. Basically, for those people looking to cut down on deep vein thrombosis, DVT, right? Any type of worry about pulmonary embolism, blood clots, etc. If you're more prone to these things, or you are someone that wants to cut down on the potential with travel, especially flying up at 30,000 feet, there's a great supplement that helps with DVTs, pulmonary embolisms, blood clots, etc. And that is from a product that I probably don't talk about enough, and that is Pynogenol. Pynogenol is actually the trademark name for an extract of a bark of what's called French maritime pine. So this is an all-natural product. It's simply been extracted just like a red yeast rice or any product like that. Well, Pynogenol, I've known about for quite some time as a powerful antioxidant. We use it with anti-aging. It's been used in all forms of Eastern-based medicine. And I'll often use it during the wintertime to improve antioxidant capacity, anti-inflammatory, or to help with circulation. Great product. That's when I use it. I use it more for like the January, February months where I need to boost immunity, boost antioxidants, and it's very, very powerful. It really is. It's a great product. Expensive product, but I'll talk about that at the end. So here's the recommendation: to cut down on blood clots, cut down on DVTs, cut down on overall pulmonary embolisms, is to take 100 milligrams twice a day the week before a long flight and for 1 week afterwards. So, smart way to use it. You will, let's say you have a 3-day trip, you'll take it for a week before, during your 3-day trip, and for about a week after. And then you can decide to use it or not after that. Also, you wouldn't use 200 milligrams. You would cut back down to 100 milligrams per day, even 50 to 100 milligrams a day for longer term use. So that's absolutely up to you. Again, if you're someone that's on a blood thinner, you might want to speak with your physician ahead of time. But this is pretty good, and it's got some good research behind it. We know it works for some positive blood thinning effects. We know that it works as an antioxidant. We know that it helps with the immune system. Great product overall. I'm going to link up the brand that I currently use. We don't have an Equilibrium nutrition product right now. Maybe we will in the future, but most likely not. It's not a product that we're going to use like every day in our practice. So you can find the product that we recommend over at stevencabral.com/1078. Okay, and like I said, that's a product that it's expensive, but what will it cost you? About $2 a day. So it's not outrageous. Again, most people spend more than that on a tea or coffee per day. But at $2 a day, it makes a little bit more of an expensive nutritional product. But again, obviously a great product with some great research behind it. Okay, let's move on to our lab review of the week. Our lab review number of the week is alkaline phosphatase. So really important that we're taking you through these labs each and every week so that you know what your numbers mean when you go to your doctor. Last week we did hemoglobin A1C. That was on show 1071. And the week before, to start our 2019, we did estrogen and progesterone numbers. Very popular show. Check that out on 1064. All right, so alkaline phosphatase, what is it? What does it mean? Well, here's what you need to know about it. Alkaline phosphatase is a number that should run every time you do your annual or semi-annual blood work. And what we are looking for is a number that's essentially looking at, well, the short for it is called ALP, alkaline phosphatase. And it's an enzyme that's found in several tissues throughout the body. We're looking at the liver, we're looking at what happens because of the bones, and that's typically what we're looking for in terms of the number being high. But remember, there's always a high, there's always a low. One thing that I'm teaching in the level 2 of the Integrative Health Practitioner certification is that just because you're not out of range does not mean you're healthy. You don't really need to be or want to be near the upper range of the zone on the numbers or the lower range of the zone. Now with alkaline phosphatase, if you are on the higher end of the range, it can mean there is some type of liver-based disorder or bone-based disorder. That means that there might be some type of inflammation or blockage of the small tubes in the liver that allow for bile to drain or drop back down into the intestines, which helps with detoxification of the intestines. It also helps with fat-based breakdown and absorption. So when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at potential gallstones. I need to look at your liver enzyme numbers next, which is the AST and ALT. So I look at those as well. I'm also looking at excessive bone formation in some type of bone disorder, sometimes called Paget's-based disease. I believe it's either Paget's or Paget's, banana. It's one of those, but it's PAGET disease. And this can cause increased ALP levels. So whenever I see the levels getting elevated, for me, certainly, again, it depends on your lab range. But the upper 25%, I'm thinking there might be some type of cirrhosis of the liver, liver-based cancer, inflammation of the liver, bile duct blockage. So I'm looking at that, but I'm also looking at what's going on with the bones. Is there a greater breakdown in bones? Why is so much bone-based formation? Now, in children, the number is typically going to be a little bit higher because, of course, there's more bone-based development. But what's never discussed, what's never talked about on your labs is what about a lower alkaline phosphatase number, typically below a 60? Well, there are a lot of people hovering around 45 on alkaline phosphatase. Here's the problem. The problem with that is that it does mean that they may have lower levels of zinc, a functionally lower level of zinc, which means they're not going to be able to produce as much testosterone that we just spoke about. They're not going to be able to produce as much bone or hormone. And they're also not going to be, again, fertility-based issues, lower zinc. But also there can be levels or other issues of malnutrition. Vitamin D is one of those. Wilson's disease is something we talk about with lower levels of ALP or alkaline phosphatase. The lower levels of vitamin C, that's another one. So what I do is I look at those levels and I say for most people, it's vitamin deficiency, it's malabsorption deficiency, it's low zinc deficiency. So I'm looking at that. Remember, low levels matter just as much as high levels. I want you to have that in your mind as you're going in and you're looking at your alkaline phosphatase numbers. If your doctor has not been running that number, I recommend they run that on your annual blood work. Please do request it. Just ask for alkaline phosphatase or ALP, and you'll be able to look at that number. On the labs that I run, I don't want to see it typically above a 100 or below a 60. But again, it depends on the labs that you're running for your blood work. Hopefully this was helpful. And remember, if the information was helpful, please do feel free to pass this information along to anyone you believe it can serve, because it's our job to teach others this type of information that's not taught by parents, it's not taught in schools, it's not taught by the media. So it's our job to share the information with others. Hopefully this was helpful. Have an amazing weekend, everyone, and be sure to tune in tomorrow for our Cabral House Calls, where we answer each and every weekend all of our community-based questions. Take care, everyone. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.